Welcome to the Manchester United Hall of Fame. Under the marvellous management of Matt Busby, great triumph and terrible tragedy gave United a unique appeal far beyond the city of Manchester. The magnetism of Manchester United remains a worldwide attraction. This Hall of Fame looks beyond the factual record to bring you the stories behind the on-the-field successes. The characters at this most charismatic of clubs. The performers who've dazzled on the splendid Old Trafford stage. And on other great grounds like Wembley, which holds so many memories for Manchester United. Cup competitions have brought out the best in a succession of talented teams. Marvellous moments and such stories behind them. This is a personal view of what makes Manchester United so special from four renowned Reds, past and present. We brought them together around the lunch table to provide a unique insight on a much-loved theme. What else but Manchester United Football Club? There's Pat Crerand, European Cup winner in 1968, a key member of the last United side to take the league championship, and as you'd expect, stories galore of those marvellous days.
Across Hurd, Jennings there again, Best. Now, can Crerand do it? A goal, a beautiful goal.
Steve Koppel took part in 3 FA Cup finals and became an England regular through his perceptive play in the swaggering Tommy Dougherty times at Old Trafford.
Well, at the moment it's United coming forward through Jimmy Greenough. Curry outside him, inside him in a good position, Koppel! That was a little classic.
There's Bryan Robson, 10 splendid years with Manchester United, most of them as captain, making history by collecting the FA Cup 3 times at Wembley, and a superb individual talent, of course.
Robson wants it early. Brilliant goal.
And one of the new heroes, Neil Webb, already a cup winner in his first season at United after signing from Nottingham Forest, and now playing a major role in extending the Alex Ferguson era into the 90s.
Webb. Neil Webb with a classic volley.
So, how did they all arrive at Old Trafford?
I'll never forget, Matt was the biggest con man you ever met in your life, but beautiful with it. I remember coming down to the club the first time I came. I'd never met the fella in my life, and he had such a great name in Scotland. There's always a little bit in awe of him. I think possibly even the lads, when down through the years, are still a little bit in awe of him as well. Getting into his office at Old Trafford and trying to get a sort of decent wage and what he was going to give me to come to Manchester United. God almighty, con me to death, but I'm saying lovely with him. He was a great, great man and a great manager to play for.
I can't believe that. How can you con a Scotsman on money?
Well, don't forget he was a Scotsman as well. I think I get the same wage that he got when he played for Manchester City in the 30s.
Are you going to let us know how much that was?
45 quid a week it was then. Which was, obviously was a lot of money then, because the ordinary working man would have been on about 12 or 14 quid a week, but even at that, I didn't think it was a great deal.
Steve, did you get much more than that out of Tommy Dougherty when he came for you in very different circumstances? You were more known as a university student who had the odd game for Tranmere Rovers.
Well, it was quite funny in a way. Like, I was playing part-time for Tranmere. I got £10 a week. And when I was told that United were interested, Dave Russell, who was then manager of Tranmere, said, listen, I've told them you're earning £30 a week. So if he asks you, tell him you're earning 30. First question Doc asked, how much you earn? I said, 30. He said, I'll double it. And to this day, I think he just did it for effect. If I'd have said I'd been earning 50, he said, oh, double it, just to try and impress me. So I actually signed for 60, so not much more. No,
funny enough, I was involved with Tommy Dock at the time at Old Trafford. I remember it was Bill Shankler that mentioned Steve to Manchester United, and I happened to go with Tommy Dock. But Tommy didn't believe little Dave Russell. Dave was another Scotsman. I mean, I don't know if Dave was getting something out of it, was he?
I don't know. Never gave me any of it, that's for sure.
Bryan, actually, you're the only one of the 4 to be signed by an Englishman. And of course, perhaps the money was slightly different terms then, and we won't press you on that. But it was a very lavish signing, wasn't it?
Yes, we will.
We will press you on that.
Well, it was at the time because I was at West Brom. I was at £140 a week I was on at West Brom at that time. And that was when I was playing for England as well. I'd made my debut for England. And so when Ron Atkinson, he'd phoned me a few times saying he was interested in me coming up to United. And obviously he made me a substantial rise. I think it was a wee bit different for myself though than Paddy and Steve, because like Steve says, he was part-time and there wasn't much of a transfer fee involved, where I come up as the record buy at £1.5 million, which obviously gave me a lot more bargaining power than what Paddy or Steve had. You know, but I've also enjoyed it at the club and I made the right move.
You certainly did. It was a very lavish affair, though, actually signing out on the pitch. That was the sort of Ron Atkinson showman way, wasn't it?
Yeah, with more experience behind me now, I don't know whether I would have done it that way again, but that was Ron's idea at the time and the chairman, and it went down well because it was a good team talk for the boys, wasn't it? I mean, they went on to win the game 5-0.
Do you remember that funny haircut you had, that curly...
That was my wig pad.
Neil, what about your recollections most recent of the fore of being, I was going to say tapped up by Manchester United, that's the wrong expression, but being approached by Manchester United?
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to join United 6 months before I actually did, because we played at United on Boxing Day, and Brian Clough had disappeared into Alex Ferguson's office trying to sell me at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. They couldn't agree between £200,000 off. In the end, I played for Forest and had a nightmare. But then I always knew that after that I would end up at Old Trafford regardless. And I think it just took an afternoon, that was a couple of hours, discussing personal terms, and that was it. I'd signed him. We played Scotland at Hampden the following week. I'd signed for United.
I mean, you were an England player by then. Is it a romantic thing to say that Manchester United meant something very special to you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think Brian Clough could understand me going, because he always wanted to be manager of Manchester United. I think that sort of hurt him more than anything, that he didn't actually get the chance to manage the biggest club. And I mean, he wished me well, but he hasn't spoken to me since anyway.
It took me longer than 2 hours on that front lawn with England.
Aye, true. We did spend a quiet afternoon at Cup final day over a couple of cups of coffee and discussing whether I should come to Old Trafford or not. But he tried to sell me a house next door to him. And
it's got to deal with the estate agents.
Oh, he must have done that. A bit out my league.
What sort of Manchester United was it, Pat, when you came? Is it very, very different looking back to the Manchester United of today?
There was nobody getting any preferential treatment from anybody. I'm sure it's still the same today, maybe the lads will tell you better, but there was no preferential treatment. Everybody knew everybody that worked in the stadium. I'm talking about all the groundsmen that worked there, and there was a weird little lady there that now I believe works in the little bar they've got at Old Trafford, Mrs. Burgess. She's still there, Mrs. B. We used to go down to the ground every morning about 9:30, and she had a little wee pokey place where she kept all her little brushes that she swept the offices with, and she used to make the best cup of tea, and you'd go in there and you'd meet everybody in there about 9:30 in the morning.
I think that's a fallacy that comes around our club though from other places, where because ours is such a big club, you get the smaller clubs, they'll say, well, we've got a nice, happy family atmosphere within the club, and people tend to think that you can't get that at a club as big as Old Trafford. Where, to me, ever since I've been here, I mean, you get on great with people, and the players, as far as I've always found, have always gotten really well together.
Best law in Charlton, so much has been...
Bad players, weren't they?
Lloyd only set it up for Best. To Charlton. What a goal! Ball streaking away down the middle with Charlton beside him. And over comes the centre trying to find it. That's what a goal! George Best. Sold 2 dummies and now has made a chance for himself. His hat-trick! Charlton taking over. Best breaking. And in a great position to break too. This looks bad. What a great goal! George Best and referee John Gow clapping his hands together and saying well done too. Morgan, Crerand outside him on the right. Doesn't need to use him. Aston trying to set it up for Best! Oh yes indeed! How about that fella? Oh, here's Lowe again.
He's searching for another goal. And he's found it! Dennis Law! Not best. Law!
West, who picked up that kid flick. Driven wide. Yes!
Everybody talks about poor George since he stopped playing. I talked to him not very long ago, and he's doing an autobiography. And he was asking me about what he was doing for the last 20 years.
You remember better than he did.
Possibly.
Steve, they were in the second division when you signed, which seems amazing now. And
It was an exciting time, I think. It was like Phoenix re-emerging almost. Like they'd gone down to the second, and then they obviously took the second division by storm, and the place was so lively. That's the one thing I remember. You know, just to add to what Bryan says, like it had a reputation. You know, it's called Cold Trafford occasionally, and I'd always said when I was at Tranmere, if I did get a move, I wanted to go to a nice, warm, friendly club. And the prospect of going to United was a little bit frightening at first, but when you do meet the people there, and the people have been there like donkey's years. Mrs. B I knew very well, still know when I go back there, and all the people are the same, and it's a nice, friendly club. And as I say, when I first went there, it was just so exciting. That was the thing that struck me. Like the Doc had the team really going, the crowd were going wild. It's brilliant.
McCalliog, and on again for McElroy. Good early cross. Kissed away, wasn't effective. Number one from Pearson. Pearson, well kept in. Just Macari in the middle. Greenough going into, and a deflection for the second goal. Macari's header. Pearson, number 3. Greenough, touchdown for McElroy. 4 hungry forwards waiting in the area for a cross. McElroy goes for the shot. Pearson! His hat-trick!
That was one of the things at that time where Steve, I think he learned his lesson off Martin Buck and Gordon Hill, I think, a little story that was going about at that time. Steve was come out as a hard-working winger where Gordon was, everybody would say, was maybe a little bit lazy sometimes and a flair player. But Martin had a go at him and won again.
Gordon had lost the ball up, he was up in the left wing position, he'd gone on a mazy and he didn't hear anybody shout. And Martin Buchan had done one of his very rare overlapping runs. He got a nosebleed when he got the other box. And Martin was sort of chugging on his way back, and as he passed Gordon, he called him something and he clipped him over the ear.
I remember that was QPR, Old Trafford.
Steve thought he'd never get a thick ear.
Every time Martin asked me the ball, yeah, mate, you can have it. Don't worry about it.
What of one of the great 70s characters, the fiery little Scotsman, Luma Curry?
Yeah, Luma Curry, I mean, he was always up to pranks whenever. And I always remember when we were playing Juventus in the European Cup Winners' Cup semi-final. The first leg was at Old Trafford. And what our press used to do, they used to get a press game against whichever country we were playing against. So this time it was the Italian press that were all over. And they used to play it at the Cliff training ground. And so anyway, they're going on having the game, and there was a few of us in the treatment room, like having a look out the window, watching them play. So Louis thought this was a great idea, takes a pair of scissors downstairs, goes into the Italian dressing room, and he snipped off all their socks, the toes of the socks, and put it in the teapot. Well, if everybody knows the Italians, how they love the dress, I mean, they haven't just got the cotton socks like we all have, like, you know, like all silk socks, and there's pink, there's yellow, there's every colour, like. And anyway, he's cut all the toes off and put them in the teapot. I would love to have seen their faces when they go back in the dressing room.
Neil, what about the present dressing room now, and who are the wisecrackers there? Present company included, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm the quiet one. I think one of the loudest ones is Ince, isn't it, really? I mean, he comes in and typical London Cockney lad, isn't he? Jack the lad and that. Brian McClare's the one that it's taken me up till now to fathom him out. Because he is very deep and he says things and I sit there and I think, does he mean it? Or And what he says, and it's
all the lads get the
crazy.
dictionary out the pocket. Everybody carries the dictionary in the inside pocket just to find out what Brian's been saying.
And he's the one that has to designate a nickname to every particular player. And he takes ages thinking of them. I mean, he'll spend all morning thinking of a nickname for a new player.
Go on then, give us a few examples.
Give us a few examples. I know what mine is, but I'm not telling you.
He, of course, he's called Chucky, isn't he?
Yeah, he's called Chucky. It took me 6 months to fathom out why he was called that as well. But, obviously, it's very simple in the end. I mean, he's called God. He calls him God.
Talking of dressing rooms, but it is a story that's gone down in legend about you breaking a mirror in a European tie.
That was, yeah, we played.
Is it true?
Oh, you never looked in it.
I didn't look in it actually. It was in Benfica.
In the 5-1 game?
Cup quarter final or something, and we were kicking the ball up against the wall. Just happened to hit the mirror. I was never very good at passing it anyway. Hit this mirror and smashed it to smithereens, and everybody went very quiet. I mean, it didn't bother me in the least bit because I've never been superstitious in my life. It was quite funny because it worked. We were 3 up after 15 minutes. It was amazing.
Some people say that's the best that Manchester United
I would
side
think
ever
that's
played.
the best performance I've ever played in any team in my life was in Benfica that night. They had never lost a European Cup tie at home, and we'd beaten them 3-2 at Old Trafford, and everybody was thinking, well, would it be enough one goal? And I don't think the way goals counted doubles then anyway. We were 3 up in 15 minutes. It was funny about poor Matt, because Matt had said to us, look lads, we're 1 up, just keep it a little bit tight for 10 or 15 minutes till the game settles down. And well, obviously everybody listened except George. George ran amok, scored 2 and made 1. 3 up after 15 minutes, you wouldn't believe it. And after that it was plain sailing.
George Best began his night of mischief at Benfica's expense with a 6th-minute header. United were expected to be vulnerable here. Instead, they gave their most vibrant performance. Best also added the 2nd, driving the ball past goalkeeper Costa Pereira. A crowd of 75,000 had come to raise the roof for a Benfica comeback. Instead, they had to show their appreciation for this amazing performance. John Connelly with goal number 3 to round off an awesome opening 15 minutes. The night had begun with the presentation of the European Footballer of the Year trophy to Benfica's Eusebio, but he was left, like his teammates, looking like a park player in comparison to the United stars. They even contributed Benfica's only goal, an own goal by Shea Brennan. The aggregate scores 6-3 now. But this Benfica pressure really more cosmetic than causing any concern. 10 minutes from time, Pat Crerand himself put Benfica back in their proper place. And remember, they were such European giants in the 60s. Finally, Bobby Charlton strolled through an exhausted defence. Benfica 1, Manchester United 5. And this great United team had truly dazzled in Lisbon's Stadium of Light.
The thing about the team we had at that particular time, and I'm always a great believer, if you do have great sides that win anything, you've got to have 2, maybe 3 players that have got a little bit of that. Well, we had maybe 3 or 4 that could give a little bit of that. I mean, Billy Phelps never took many prisoners. Nobby was a much maligned player. He didn't really mean what he done. He meant a lot worse.
Couldn't see what he done.
A funny story about Nobby one day. I remember Nobby's first game for England. He played against Scotland at Wembley in 1965. And the worst thing about Wembley sometimes is standing in the tunnel. It's not the actual playing the game. You're desperate to go on the pitch. And I was playing number 4 for Scotland, and Nobby was playing number 4 for England. Dennis was playing for Scotland number 10, and Bobby Charlton was playing. And I'm trying to G Nobby up because it was the time at Wembley when you got thousands of Scots people come down and were drunk for 2 days. Probably the half of them went home and didn't realise what the score was. And I'm G Nobby, but just go out and play your natural game as long as you don't come near me. Well, he looked up at Dennis, and Dennis totally bottled him. Well, he kicked Dennis all over Wembley. He had a big mistake in Dennis's part. But he had bad eyes as well, Nobby.
What about the famous trip to South America? And I think it was Bilardo himself who ended up as being
manager of the Argentina. He was a dirty
so-and-so
he was. Oh, filthy. I mean, the game was a whole farce at that time because it was just after Alf Ramsey had England had beaten Argentina in the quarter-finals or the semi-final? Quarter-final, that's right. They beat Portugal in the semi-final.
Sorry, but just as you're going on that, Wolf McGuinness was telling a good story the other night about this Dougherty. He says he was the only person who could cut you and stitch you at the same time.
You're right. He did. You're right. He went over the top to Bobby Charlton. I'm not kidding. I remember it. And Bobby had blood scooping out his shin. But they were absolutely filthy.
Estudiantes won the first leg in Argentina by a 1-0. United still in the hunt despite the sending off of Styles. But the second leg brought them scant satisfaction.
And the free kick taken by number 3, Madero. Similar situation as this. It was a corner, but a similar situation gave Estudiantes their goal in Buenos Aires. And that's Veron! Oh dear! For United, number 11, Veron, the witch.
It developed from there into a witch hunt, with George Best succumbing to severe provocation. Another distasteful match. Estudiantes held out to win a tainted World Club Championship 2-1 on aggregate, with Willie Morgan scoring United's only goal. Many players were happy to finish the whole shameful affair in one piece.
Steve, what were your memories of playing in Europe for Manchester United?
Brief memories. I only played a few games. I think we played Ajax. We beat Ajax in the Cup Winners' Cup, and then we played Juventus, and we got beat there. I think we won 1-0 at home, Gordon Hill. Great.
2-0 over there.
And it was like 2 or 3 maybe.
No, 2 it was.
2 was it? I always remember after one goal anyway, Tardelli went past Doc on the bench. And Doc was like, the crowd was going wild, and I think Tardelli had scored and he'd done his lap of honour like in the World Cup final. He went right past the Doc on the bench. And the Doc started standing up and shouting, "Who won the war? Who won the war?" The only way we could get back at them.
There's more disappointment a year later as they go out of the Cup Winners' Cup against Porto, but only after a Koppel-inspired fight-back from a 4-0 deficit in the first leg.
Another bad kick. Here's McGrath. Pearson, his Koppel. Yes! Steve Koppel gives Manchester United exactly the start they wanted. Hill. Pearson and Koppel in the centre with McElroy. Koppel got in. He's off the defender. Own goal. Own goal, it seemed. Koppel got in first. Pearson got a flick on, and it's got in. Koppel got there. Steve Koppel gets his second, and Manchester United's fourth.
Bryan, of course, the night I always remember involving yourself was when you put Maradona to shame and came back from 2 goals down against Barcelona. That must have been, even in your glittering career, one of the great high spurs.
Well, that was the best year I've been involved with the club, because we obviously got the semi-final, and we're very unfortunate to get beat by Juventus in the semi. But yeah, the Barcelona game was great because we'd gone across there and we should have got a better result than what we did. We got beat 2-0, but we had some really good chances which we didn't take. So to come back and win 3-0, I mean, that's the best atmosphere I've ever played in. Old Trafford was just shaking that night. Even on the pitch, you could feel the pitch shaking. It was a fabulous atmosphere.
Ron Atkinson said before the game that a win tonight would be the most satisfying of his managerial career, and his players have responded in superb style. Neil Webb's European experience has so far been limited to 1 season, but there have already been some marvellous nights.
Another dangerous looking corner. Bruce in there this time, and it's gone in. McClare has broken the deadlock for Manchester United, and Wrexham can feel a little aggrieved that a half in which they battled so well and played some good football, it would appear would see them going in at the interval a goal behind. At least as Sharp attacks for United again dangerously, and then brings his man down. Play on, said the referee. Hughes came in to intercept. He's really got the bit between his teeth here, Mark Hughes. Oh, great run, and he's gone down. That could be a penalty, and it is. He earned that one. But only just. Morris made a marvellous attempt to reach it. Webb will take it. Cleared by Bowden. Back it goes from Sharp to Webb. In first time. Bruce and Pallister on the far post. It drops for Pallister. Oh, what a splendid goal by Gary Pallister.
But it's good nights. I mean, it's something that, you know, I signed for Forest in the first division the year we got banned, and Forest had qualified for UEFA, and it was disappointing, but now we're back, it's good.
But the ultimate triumph for United came way back in 1968, that fabulous European Cup win over Benfica.
Brennan now.
Nobody had ever, I know Bob Paisley's done it since, had gone up to receive the cup on behalf of the club, and we wanted Matt to do it, and he wouldn't do it. And you know, I regret it for his sake, because I think that's something that he should be remembered for, because he was the instigator of English clubs going into Europe, and that was the great goal that he always had, that he'd love to be the champions of Europe, and he was that night, and it was a great night. Don't remember too much about the following couple of days.
You are the three looking at this gentleman here. I mean, you've all had to live with the fact that he played in the last side that won the league in 1967. It's a horrible date that's thrown at you, I'm sure, almost every day of your lives. How much of a problem has it become with the length of time? Steve, I mean, in your time, was it still being talked of then?
Without doubt. I think the longer it's gone, obviously the league title is the one that they all want. It's all very well winning the cup and doing well, but it's the league title, that is the one. And you think of the size and stature of Manchester United, all things being equal, they should have won it in that period. But it's amazing how things do go. It could well be that once they get a latch on the trophy, that it'll be 3 or 4 in a tumble. I think it just needs that confidence to know. And in my time, I think the closer we came, we were runners-up one year. And you just felt, you know, unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, Stevie, more than anything.
Liverpool and Arsenal now, and the teams that, you know, they've done it. Once you've done it, I think that's half the battle.
Easy after that.
I mean, if someone the duck's gone, that'll be it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. If someone had said to me in 1967 that within the next 24 years Manchester United wouldn't win the championship, I'd have laughed at them. You'd have laughed at them. You'd have thought the biggest club, and certainly in Britain anyway, you'd have thought, well, they're a certainty to win the league maybe once every 3 or 4 years. And it's just, I think it's become a monkey in the players' backs, that people are on about it all the time, and it's making it more difficult for managers and players.
When you were signed, did you feel that you were yet another player bought to win the league championship?
I thought when I signed and we beat the league champions at the time 4-1 at Old Trafford in front of a capacity crowd, I thought I know you can't say after one game, but I thought we might have had a good chance. And then we had a couple of injuries again that year, but I mean, our league form last year was obviously very disappointing. The FA Cup was obviously a bit of a bonus for us.
That was your debut, of course, was a big day for the club all round, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a juggling chairman at the time. That was I couldn't believe it. I passed him in the tunnel, actually juggling a ball and stretching. That was I couldn't believe it. I've never seen that from a chairman of a football club ever.
But you won the game 4-1, so
everything started in a carnival atmosphere and just went steadily downhill after that.
Driven in low, and Steve Bruce! The new regime at Manchester United off to a flying start. And a goal. David Rocastle. Arsenal give another twist to this captivating plot. Manchester United looking to come again here with Duxbury. Hughes, that's a great turn. Mark Hughes! Webb. Neil Webb with a classic volley to embroider his first league game for Manchester United. Hughes. Phelan. Arsenal could lose here by an increasing number. They are now 4-1 down. Bryan McClure.
Being involved in this club, you don't like to make excuses, especially when it's injuries are concerned. But I definitely think it's affected the rhythm of this club on quite a few years. with injuries. I mean, it only shows when you look at Nottingham Forest when they actually won the league, and Aston Villa when they won the league. I think Aston Villa were the perfect example. I think they used about 13 players in the whole season. Now, I mean, I think if our club could actually do that just for one season, you would get a more consistent run.
One thing that has been very consistent is that the cup success over the period, and Paddy, as I said at the start, you were at the club just a few weeks, fighting relegation in the league and striding out at Wembley.
But it was an absolute fantastic day. I couldn't believe all the pomp and ceremony and then winning the cup as well. Absolutely fantastic. We had great players at the club then that never had really clicked, and I think to a degree like United, Matt had bought a few players, and sometimes you don't really understand a player's style till you've played with them a little period of time. And this was the end of the season, we all knew each other by then. And you think of Bobby and Dennis Law and Johnny Giles, great players, Albert Quixwell, great players.
How did you play on the day?
Done all right. I got the man of the match award. I did. Believe it or not. No, well, I've got to say that for posterity.
Did they have them at that time?
They did. On my life, Brian, I got a cigarette lighter. That's what I got, a cigarette
You've never smoked?
No, never smoked, no. And it's funny, I've seen it before. I met Stan Mortensen not so very long ago, and he was the star man in the 48 Cup final, even though it was Matthew's final, and Matthew's got the name for it. He got a cigarette lighter as well. Cigarette lighter? The FA must be full of cigarette lighters. Full of them.
Steve, you had 3 cup finals in 4 seasons. That's fantastic, really, with mixed fortunes. You were certainly favourites to win the first one against Southampton.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
I don't know, like we were a young side. We took the first division by storm. We played really well. I think we were in the top 3 more or less all season. And again, as soon as we were up at the top, people were talking about at one stage getting the double and all this business, which I think on young shoulders put a lot of pressure on. But just on the day, like it's easy to say we froze, but we just did not perform.
Shannon, nice touch again. Carry on. Oh, look at this. Bobby Stokes. Hit well. Oh, he's there! Stokes has put Southampton in the lead.
I remember Sammy McElroy from underneath. I mean, it was impossible to miss it. If you had said to him, the one thing I want you to do is put it over the bar, that's the hardest thing to do. How he missed it, I'll never know.
I think Paddy's saying you go there and you want to go back. You know, that feeling is all the more when you've been there and you've been beaten. And I remember we came back and we had the drive around the city, and the doc said outside the town hall, he said, we'll be back in 12 months' time. You know, all the players are going, shut up. Don't want that pressure 12 months prior. But true enough, like the determination and the will to go back was such that eventually we did.
I had my 3 kids with me at Wembley that day, and 3 of their pals. I took one of these loony decisions to take them all to Wembley because they're United supporters, and 3 of their pals, 6 of them. And they scored about 13 minutes to go or something, Southampton, didn't they? And all the kids started crying. They all started, and I thought, bloody hell, I mean, kids screaming, not crying. And I'm saying, oh, don't worry, kids, out the goodness, man, take you all back next year, we'll be back again next year, and sure as God it happened.
Yes, back they all went in 1977, but Liverpool are the opposition and on course for the treble of League, FA Cup and European Cup. This time, United are undoubtedly the underdogs.
Is Jimmy Greenoff's header on for Pearson? A chance on here. And Pearson is the scorer. Jones. Case. Good turn. Oh, yes. A brilliant goal by Jimmy Case. On by Macari. Smith slips slightly. Jimmy Greenoff. And has it gone in by Macari, is it?
That was the end for Tommy Dougherty.
Well, yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Was it a very dramatic thing personally for you as a player, sort of?
Well, I think the whole team he'd brought in, more or less, on I'm trying to think now, must have been 5 or 6 he brought in himself, and he was a father figure to so many of the team. And I heard about it. I was just driving one day, and it was on the radio, and I thought it was a wind-up. I had to check the calendar. It wasn't April the 1st, and you know, when he'd left, it was hollow. The club was hollow for a while.
2 years later, you got to Wembley again, though, under Dave Sexton, in what's remembered as, I suppose it was a fairly straightforward final up to a point, and then suddenly became one of the great legends of the
I've never gone from such a high to such a low so quickly. Like I remember it to this day, like Sammy McIlroy scoring, like we were 2-0 down, and then we got 1 goal back on McQueen, and then Sammy scored, and I remember he went running off to the side of the pitch, and we all ran over there. Like in my mind's eye, I could see the headlines in the papers the next day, you know, United Triumph 4-2 extra time. I could see it, 4-2, we were going to win 4-2, I was convinced. And a minute or so later, like we were 3-2 down, that was a good night, Vienna.
2-0 down, and hope now is fast fading for them as Koppel lifts that free kick in there again. It'll come all the way through to Jordan, turning it back in there again, and a goal! And it's given! And McQueen is the man who claims it, and suddenly United are back in the game with 4 minutes left, and who knows what might be produced in those 4 minutes. Well, the United fans wanted him to get on with it, and that wasn't a very good ball by him. But here's Koppel, and there's McIlroy getting in there. Can he finish it off? Yes, he can! 2 goals in a minute, and suddenly United are back in it. Well, look at that picture, that tells it all. Arsenal were preparing their victory speeches, and now they're dumbstruck. What an amazing turnabout. And the scenes on the 2 benches, well, I've never known. The despair on the face of Don Howe and Terry Neal. But wait a moment, it's there by Sunderland, and they're back in the lead again, and they're off the bench once more. What an amazing cup final.
If you think of that, there's a minute to go in the cup final, extra time beckoning, like they were wiped out. I think they were needing the rest just as badly as we were, and to score in that 60 seconds, you know, it's what makes the FA Cup final very special.
Well, Brian, you know plenty about FA Cup finals.
I'm just pleased I haven't had the same experience as Barry and Steve. Because the times where I've been there, like we've always went on to win, which is always nice. I mean, it took us a couple of replays to do it, but it's always been nice to end up with the trophy at the end of the day.
You could have lost in '83 to
That's right. Yeah. Gary Bailey made a great save last minute of extra time. You know, but I've always said, I mean, that's what goalkeepers are there for. You know, they're there to make good saves, and Gary hadn't had that much to do in that game, but he pulled it out for us at the time, and that helped us win the cup at the end of the day.
Put out there, Case turned on as Robinson got the legs. Scott Moran after him, and Robinson still in control. Play for Smith, and saved by Bailey. My word, what a remarkable finish.
And then the replay was a 1-horse race.
I'm glad to say I've never felt so relaxed in a cup final, sitting in that dressing room at half-time 3-0 up. And that was a great feeling to be sitting in there 3-0. And I can always remember Ron Atkinson turning around to the lads and he's going, you know, come on, the first 20 minutes, you've got to start well in the second half. He says, otherwise they can get back into this game. And I was sitting there thinking, we're cruising.
Wilkins. Orbiston to Whiteside. Their second major trophy in 15 years.
Let's touch briefly on 1985. We talk about history. Of course, there was a bit of infamous history made against Everton with Kevin Moran becoming the first player to be sent off in a cup final. That really was a win against the odds.
It was a very harsh decision, you know, in a cup final, and for Kevin Moran now to be the only player to be sent off in a cup final. I mean, it wasn't as if it was that nasty of a town. It wasn't as if it was so deliberate. I mean, there was a fraction of an inch, you know, towards either getting the ball or not getting the ball. Even Peter Reid held his hands up after the game and said that.
The fact that it was Kevin as well.
Yeah,
He's not that type of player.
Not that type of player. Yeah, that's right.
Well, it was the referee's last game, wasn't it? Which I think the FA now changed the policy of giving it as a thank you for so many years' service. They actually just give it to the best referee. Whereas Peter Willis has done many years' service, and it was thanks all the best.
But still, Manchester United playing with great pluck and intelligence. Get the ball out, and they've made their own openings already in extra time. And this fellow Hughes is coming into it more and more. And here's Whiteside. Strachan is following up. Olsen on this side. That's all he's got. Whiteside shoots. It's there! Norman Whiteside has done it again. Embraced by his colleagues after putting Manchester United in front with a goal out of nothing.
I thought he was a great player, Norman. I thought he was so intelligent. I mean, he didn't have the greatest pace in the world, but such a great player to have in your team. As we said around the table earlier on, he's probably done more than most players will ever hope to do. I'm sure there's players would hope to have the same experiences that Norman's had, to play the youngest player in the World Cup and to score in 3 Wembley finals.
Yeah, he would have been one of the greats if it hadn't been for his injury
problems. Yeah.
He came over, I think the first time I saw him, we used to have an open day at Old Trafford in the summer. I don't know whether that still happens. And we had a 5-a-side tournament between England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. And Norman came over, he was 14. And this big giant come in, he had his skinhead haircut, and like he just scored 14, and he came again, scored McQueen's, all the internationals everywhere, and he rattled in goal after goal in this little 5-a-side tournament.
We can't finish talking about the United Cup wins without referring to your part against Steve's team in the replay, and you with Bryan as well were both sort of fighting to get fit at the latter stages of that cup run after lengthy absences.
Yeah, well, at the time when I was injured for 6 months, it was something that I could never imagine that would happen. I would finish on a FA Cup winning side at the end of the season, and but when I looked up for the pass, it was the last person I expected to see was Lee Martin running down there. But he finished it very well, actually. It didn't miss the post by much either. I've watched it on the replay, and it didn't miss the post by very much. But it was the only goal that we needed, so it was good.
And now McClare, he's into the centre much more in the second half. You know, he's moved in from the right-hand side, Brian McClare, and he's having some good play and some good touches. This is Wallace. Webb. Lee Martin from left back, an inspired run on the far side. A chance here, and a goal!
Bryan, I remember you telling me after the win that you'd done very little between the 2 games because you'd had so few matches. You had to spend a lot of time resting.
Yeah, that's right. But I think the nervous energy and everything that you get on a cup final day as well, you burn up more than what you would normally do, you know, as far as your fitness is concerned. And so from the Saturday game, I mean, all of our players, we did nothing up until the Thursday.
Couldn't do nothing.
No, we couldn't really. But I can remember a few of Steve's team saying that they'd been on this commando training, and you know they were fitter than us because they did finish the game. The first game they finished stronger than us, but I thought that the lads came back even stronger in the second game, and in the replay I thought we looked the stronger team.
Always in games you get feelings, and I think sometimes even though you played badly and you might just nick a result, you just feel as if you're going to nick it. And when we were winning with 7-8 minutes to go, I couldn't feel it. I still couldn't convince myself that we were going to win 3-2. So I was always on edge, and like it was like 2 fighters on the ropes after 15 rounds. Like we were punched out, and yet to be fair, like I've seen the game, I've watched it once, the first game, I've watched it once, and Bryan says that we finished the stronger. I think, in actual fact, they finished the stronger. But like after the game, we were sort of clinging to anything to try and, you know, immediately I was trying to think of what can we do to get it right for Thursday. And, you know, the first thing I said was, oh, you finished that one stronger. And that was the impression that came out in all the papers. And as Bryan said, the lads, you know, a few of them were saying, well, we finished stronger and we'll do better on Thursday. But in reality, I think United finished stronger.
The replay presents Alec Ferguson with a crucial dilemma, which he solves by replacing Jim Leighton with Les Sealey.
Yeah, that was cruel, but it was a key.
It was cruel, but it was important.
You're always looking. You know, I'm a realist about these things. If we play United, we played United last season, then you know in 10 games they'd won 6 or 7, I think. without being too pessimistic about it. And we always had a little bit of chink of daylight. There was always a sign of weakness. And then to have that taken away from us in the replay.
Knocked your confidence a wee bit, did it?
A very brave decision by the manager, and I think in hindsight, obviously, it's a right decision.
When did you hear, Neil, that the change was made in goal? It came as a shock to everybody outside the club. And
well, we all found out, well, I did personally, on the night before, the Wednesday night, when we all sat down for a meal. And Jim, I think Jim stayed in his room, and Brian McClare told us because he was rooming, and it was a shock because you wouldn't want wish it on anyone to be dropped from a cup final.
Did you expect it, Neil?
We'd heard rumours, but I didn't expect him to actually do it. It was, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and it's very disappointing. And afterwards, when you're all trying to celebrate and Jim's in the dressing room, it's very.
Well, that was done a little bit for the media at the cup final, the first game. At the end of the game, the guy says to me, "Would you change the goalkeeper in the final because he had a poor game, the lad? Unfortunately, I mean, you feel for any player that has a bad game." I said, well, if United want to win the game, they'll have to change the goalkeeper. That was the way I felt after the game.
Told me a lot about the gaffer. It just meant if you don't play well, you get dropped no matter what.
No matter who you are.
Manchester derbies will always have a special place in players' memories, and there have been none more dramatic than the one played at Main Road in 1971.
McElroy to West. The crowd not liking it because they think that he got Lee booked. Kids cross, O'Neill, Best, and McElroy! Dowling to Bobby Charlton, Best free on the left. Here he is, put in by a good pass from Charlton. McElroy steps over it and Kidd scores, no trouble. Look. Francis Lee pushing it on for Mella. Lee held back. Penalty. A chance for Francis Lee to score his 7th penalty of the season and bring his total to 14 goals and to put Manchester City back into the game. That's the weight on Lee's shoulders, and it doesn't worry him in the least. Lee, beautiful ball for Bell. Here it is. Bobby Charlton with the corner. Corrigan's fist. Aston. And it's gone in off Koppel. Summerby. Good shot! Mike Summerby, a magnificent shot, but you will go a long, long way before you'll see a better save than that from Stepney. Stepney there outside his far post, having really produced the save of the match and one of the saves of the season. And he's there again and lost it. Summerby!
We were all pals together in Manchester at that particular time. We didn't really go out with each other, but if we did meet each other anywhere, we would go and have a drink together or we'd join each other's company. But you wouldn't really be seen to go out with each other because you couldn't. It wouldn't go down too well in the city, strangely. But Mike was a great lad. Mike had, unfortunately, had a big nose and people took the mickey out of him, and it was quite fortunate one day at Old Trafford. He was down at the far end at the Stretford and the crowd were giving him some stick about his nose, and he walked up to the corner flag and wiped his nose on it. Which was funny.
Like, I enjoyed Manchester derbies. Like, it is a good atmosphere to play in. Great day. Good day for the crowd. And although it's a very tense occasion, I think once a game settles down, there's usually good football played. There's normally a lot of goals as well.
Buchan. Thomas. McElroy will take it and go through the gap. Corrigan out to meet him. If he can put it back, he's got Greenough up into the 6-yard box. Comes to Koppel. And it went in even though Corrigan got a touch to it. Taken by Jimmy Greenough on for Koppel. He did well. Oh, that's a brilliant goal. That is a superb goal by Steve Koppel. Oh, he clipped that at such a lovely angle. Curry, McElroy, Ritchie! And the youngster can celebrate his debut in the derby match.
Neil, you haven't had much experience of derby games, but you have, of course, been back to play against your old club, Nottingham Forest.
The most memorable experience that was last year. 4-0 down after 15 minutes, I believe. And it was funny, like, because Piercy come up to me before the game and he says, you do know what I'm going to tell you, don't you? And I says, yeah. I said, who is, like, someone's going to kick me, like, or two players are just going to kick me regardless. So I said, well, who are they, like, you know? And he says, oh, Gary Crosby and Nigel Jempson. I mean, they must be the smallest players and they don't want to tackle, like. And Nigel Jempson followed me around for the whole second. He wouldn't go past my side because every time I got the ball, he just tried to do me from behind. And I kept jumping out the way and getting the ball and jumping out the way. And in the end, Cloughie substituted him because he didn't kick me enough. And that's true, that he got these two players to just kick me. Piercy refused to do it, thankfully.
You wouldn't be here.
Well, no, I mean...
Piercy was disappointed that he didn't get that.
But I mean, that's just Cloughie. I mean, the referee did brilliant for me. So he actually said that I know what's going on, so it wasn't a problem.
Can you put into words the difference between working for Alec Ferguson now and Brian Clough?
Well, I think with Brian Clough, obviously it is something to do with a little bit of fear. I mean, what he rules at Nottingham Forest with a rod of iron. They haven't actually got a chairman there. So what he says goes. He signs players without the chairman knowing, and then tells him how much he's spent. That's how he signed me. He signed players on blank. I actually signed a blank contract when I joined Nottingham Forest. I must have been mad. And he took me out for a meal. He had given me a few glasses of wine. I went back down the office and just signed without anything on it. So, but fortunately, he actually paid up what we agreed. But at Forest, I mean, if they finish in the top six, win like the Littlewoods Cup or the Rumbelows Cup is what it's called now, or perhaps not even do that, but get to an FA Cup semi-final, which they've been quite successful in the last 4 years, the Forest fans would be happy with that because 20,000 people is not really a lot of pressure. And the difference to come to United is obviously far greater. There's like 40,000 every week. There's a lot more pressure here to win something every season.
But Alec Ferguson, from the outside, can seem to be a fairly fearsome character as well when riled.
Well, Bryan, he's told me that he's mellowed since I've been here. I've been here 2 years. I mean, I missed my first season anyway, majority of it, so I haven't seen the teacups, if go flying across the room. But he has got one of these fiery Scotch tempers, like most of them have. But I mean, I haven't ever seen it. I mean, he's definitely mellowed with me.
Do you agree with that, Bryan?
We ran out of cups. I think he packed it in the one day at Coventry when the boss wasn't happy about the first half performance at all. And he come in at half time, and before he'd even say anything, the whole teacups, everything went off the table all over everybody's blazer and flannels. And since then, he never really went for the cups so much because he just drowned everybody's clothes. But I think because the boss has got used to the club now, and he's quite happy with the squad that he's got, that the pressure's come off him a wee bit now, and he's definitely more relaxed since halfway through last season than when he first come. And I think he's benefiting from that as well.
You see him on the bench, Steve. I mean, does he seem an intense man? They seem to be almost like a chorus line, the Manchester United quartet on the bench, going up to the linesman, back again and use.
Without patronising the man, I think when the job was available, I think he was the right man for the job. And I think now, the things probably that people won't realise, the youth system that he's now instigating, which will only, the benefit will be seen in years to come. I think he's really got that going the way he had it in Aberdeen. He was famous in Scotland for the youth system at Aberdeen, right, dominating the Highlands football, everything. So many good young kids, and I think now we're just seeing that at United. And
funny, talking about Alex Ferguson, the comparisons with Matt, because I don't really know him as a football manager, Alex Ferguson. But Matt, when things weren't going well for you at half-time, he'd come in, and he never ever swore, Matt, never ever used bad language in his life, on or off the pitch. And he'd have that angelic look about him, as if, you felt that you were letting the man down to be losing. He didn't ever go at you or anything like that. He just spoke to you about the game and you thought, by God, imagine, what a lovely man and a great man, and we're getting beat, how dare we lose? And that was the way he done it. Totally the opposite.
I'm sure the Manchester United fans who loved you so much as a player want me to ask you, in light of what Bryan said, as to whether as a manager you've ever thrown any cups at half-time.
No, I haven't actually. Like I always think, like I've thrown a sandwich once. It's stuck on the roof. No, I'll leave it at cups. A few of the players are bigger than me, you see, so I've got to watch out. I can't get the clothes dirty.
You've got a team of giants there.
Everybody's bigger than you.
I've got to watch out because a few of them might move next door and I can't have that.
The name of Manchester United and its many past glories is known and respected and loved right around the world. The club is steeped in history. But what does it mean to the men who've shaped that history?
When I go home back down south now, I mean, I live about 300 miles away, but when I go back home, everyone knows Manchester United. And when I was at Nottingham Forest, it was, oh, you play for Forest, but now everyone, like little kids come running down the street in their United strips, and that's just tremendous. And like I say, it's just a great privilege to play for them.
The thing that I've enjoyed about Manchester is that even though it's a high-pressure club, you can live in the Manchester area and you can live without too much hassle away from the game. People let you get on with your lives, with your family, and that's the part that I've really enjoyed as well as the football.
Like Manchester United to me is just a warm feeling. I think from when I was playing, it gave me so much from a material point of view. From a memory point of view, I've got a fun for which will last me a lifetime. And whenever it's mentioned, the score on television, anything, I just feel good about like the name and hearing it, and it seems right. And like Paddy's got a tie on there, which is, I believe, is a society of ex-Man United.
All players.
Players.
You're one of them, aren't you?
No, I've got one of them. I'm a member of the society, and I'm proud to be it. And I think anybody who has been connected with the club is proud to have been associated with the place.
Nice place to live in, great people, very, very friendly people, lovely to talk to. Football's their life. I mean, this is a football mad city, not just for United, but for City as well. Football mad city. And it's, Steve, a warm feeling it gives you every time you even look at the place or anything like that. And I remember George on television not very long ago, and somebody was asking him about football in general, and George says, well, he says, I'm a Manchester United supporter.
Says it all.